and welcome to my first podcast. So I've been putting this off for ages now, and I thought, you know what, now is about time to share what's going on in my head. And the first thing I thought I would talk about is a little bit about why I got into women's coaching and health and fitness specifically, and why the current wellness industry, in my opinion, has lost its mind. So I qualified as a personal trainer back in 2019. And at the time, I was going through a career change. I just had my second child. And after 11 years working in the media industry, I didn't want to go back. I wanted a job that was flexible around my kids. And I wanted a job where I could give back and make people's lives better. And as someone who's always been into health and fitness themselves, I mean, I was the person in the office who people were asking, how do you get glutes like that? What are you eating? Can you write me a nutrition plan? Which at the time I didn't really think anything of, because I was passionate about media and I loved my job. And it wasn't until I had my second child that I thought, actually, you know what? I should do this for a living. But that wasn't my initial choice. Initially, I was going to go and be a primary school teacher, because that had been something that I'd thought about since being at school. And I went and actually got accepted onto a PGCE course at Sheffield Hallam University. And I went and did some work experience in a local primary school. And I was like, teachers are miserable. And no disrespect to teachers, like so much respect to teachers. Like, you guys do an amazing job. And some of my friends are teachers, some of my clients are teachers. But I was like, I don't think this is the one for me. This is not what is going to bring me joy. And when I thought about it properly, I was like, actually, I do want to teach, and I do want to help people and give back and make people's lives better. And I thought it was kids that I wanted to teach, but I realised that actually that wasn't where my passion lay anymore. And actually part of the reason I'd gone into this teaching course was because I thought, right, well, if I'm a teacher, I'm going to get the school holidays off. So win-win, I don't have to worry about like juggling work and school and everything like that. Anyway, I got home after one of my work experience days at this primary school, and I was laying in bed with my husband, and I was like, so I changed my mind. And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, I've decided actually that I'm gonna train to be a personal trainer. And he was like, right, but I thought you were starting this teaching course in 6 months' time. I said, yeah. I'm actually starting a PT qualification course next weekend. He was like, okay. So I went and did that, and thought, actually, I probably better have some personal training sessions myself, because I've no idea what it's all about. And so I went next 2 doors down. We had a PT gym. It's not there anymore. And I had some PT sessions. And I said, oh, by the way, I'm getting my personal training qualification. And they were like, oh, right, that's cool. Well, we're actually looking for a female coach if you're interested. So I literally got my qualification and walked straight in to a PT and small group PT gym. I was just checking, by the way, then, that this was actually recording, because that would have been terrible, right, if this was my first podcast and it just didn't record. So I worked for them for maybe like 10 months, I think. And then COVID hit and we went into lockdown, and obviously everything changed. Now, if I'd known then what I know now, I would have shifted online in that time, because online coaching exploded. But I was still working for them, even though I was freelance. So the only element of online I was actually doing was live Zoom sessions for all of my clients in my living room. So I was working like crazy. I had a not even 2-year-old and a 3-year-old at home, and everything was just mental, just absolutely mental. So I did that, and it was during that period that I realised, A, that my passion was for training women, not just training the general population, specifically women, and B, that I could go it alone. And it was at that point that I thought, you know what, I am going to be better off setting my own business. And so after we came out of lockdown number however many in 2021, I basically said, sorry guys, I'm going to do it myself. And we converted our garage into a studio, And I've been doing in-person coaching from there ever since. So fast forward to, what year is it now? 2026. So fast forward to 2024. And I'd realised that I couldn't sustain just doing in person because my children are still young. I want to be around them. I want to put them to bed. I want to do the school run. And there's only a finite amount of hours in the day. And I refused from day one to do weekends. I kept that as a hard boundary. So I was like, right, I'm gonna start doing some online coaching and see where this takes me. And I slowly got a couple of clients here and a couple of clients there. And as that went on, I realised that there is this huge demographic, this niche that is so underserved by the wellness and the fitness industry and so over marketed to. And that niche is me. It's literally women my age, from sort of 35 up to 55 roughly, who have sacrificed a hell of a lot for their career, are very, very ambitious, very driven, may or may not have kids, but the compromises and sacrifices they've made mean that their health and their fitness has always come last. And because of that, and because of everything that we now know about the importance of strength training and how important being fit and healthy is for life longevity and just like looking after your kids and having a good life overall, there's this huge need for women in that demographic to start strength training, and they have no idea where to start, because why would you? The gym is terrifying, and I totally get it. I personally love going to the gym, but if I hadn't trained before, I would be so scared of going into a gym environment, not knowing what to do, not knowing where everything is, not knowing how the equipment works, thinking that people are staring at me. And even as someone who goes regularly, I still have some of those thoughts, especially when I go to a new gym. Not knowing what you're meant to eat. This is the other thing. Like the online world of women's fitness, especially, and health, is so overwhelming and so confusing. And you only have to open up any social media platform to have a barrage of conflicting information from experts, and also a load of products sold to you claiming they're going to fix your hormones, fix your gut health, sort out your cortisol bellies, get rid of your cellulite. There needs to be someone who cuts through the noise, and there are many, many very, very good experts out there who I fully respect, and it is the space that I chose to go into because it's where I'm at, and I get it. I get what it's like to run your own business. I get what it's like to have 2 kids at primary school age. I've worked in the corporate world for 11 years, and I get how confusing and overwhelming it is. And when you are time poor and already overstimulated and your mental load is already full, it feels impossible to try and get on top of your health and fitness. And that brings me to how I started this first podcast. The current health and fitness industry for those women is a mess, an absolute mess. And it has got to the point where people are obsessed with tracking everything, tracking their sleep, their steps, their HRV, their VO2 max. There's even something on your Apple Health that tracks the speed at which you run down the stairs, because that's a marker of how healthy you are. But it's got to the point where people are obsessing over whether to eat white or brown rice, which, hey, that's a bit of an age-old one, right? But it was a question that a client asked me the other week, because will it raise their blood glucose levels, and is that a problem? That they've forgotten how to just live their life. And it used to be about balance. It used to be about the 80-20 rule. You are consistently healthy 80% of the time, and you don't sweat the other 20% of the time. And it's not like it has to be, Monday to Friday is your 80, or Monday to a bit of Saturday is your 80%, and then the rest is your 20. No, it's a give and take each day, and it's getting that balance right. And that's how you get to the point where you've got that consistency and you are still getting fitter and stronger, but your health isn't suffering because you're binging on a weekend, and you've got that balance. But that has disappeared. That simple message has disappeared. And it's like, if you aren't being super obsessed with tracking everything, then you might as well not bother. At least that's the messaging that's been put out there. And that, for me, what I see with my clients, what I see with people who reach out to me, that is the biggest sticking point and the biggest thing that stops them from making progress. Because you have to remember as well, these women are all about doing things as best they can. That's how they've become really successful in their careers. And if they think they can't succeed at something, they often won't start it. And that's the problem. We've made it something that has to be this really high achieving, you've got to be all in, you've got to be obsessed over it, you've got to be training all the time, there's no rest days, you've got to be doing this. It puts people off because it's not sustainable. Because actually in real life, you want to go out for a glass of wine before school pickup on a Friday. And in real life, on a Saturday afternoon, you want to take your kids for fish and chips. And you want to be able to do those things without feeling guilt or shame or that you failed. And also, you want to be able to do those things without spiraling into this whole despair of, right, well, that's it now. I've messed up those days. I might as well start again on Monday. And part of it is society. Part of it is that actually this demographic of women that I coach, the era that we were brought up in, we watched our mums obsess over doing fitness videos and constantly on diets and talking about their weight all the time. And then we're a generation who we're really conscious not to do that, especially in front of our children, especially our daughters. And it's so confusing because it's like, right, okay, well, I'm meant to have body confidence, so I can't say that actually I want to lose weight, because if I say that I might offend someone who's happy with being overweight. But I do want to lose weight, but I can't say that in front of my kids either, because that will give them a body complex. And I know that I probably should start tracking my calories, because actually I've got no idea whether I'm eating enough protein or if I'm eating the right amount of calories to lose weight or to maintain my weight or grow muscle. But if I do that, am I going to become really obsessed? And then if I become obsessed, what if I'm obsessed forever? And then what if it triggers an eating disorder? And I see this train of thought happening with women, and it's not okay. And it's fueled by social media, and it's fueled by the wellness industry and the lack of regulation on supplements, which really bugs me. And it's fueled by these huge corporations who are making an insane amount of money from various gadgets, where, if I'm honest, most women probably would benefit from just eating more protein. And I know everyone bangs on about it, but that's because it's the truth. And starting some consistent resistance training. You don't need a vibration plate. And if you're eating shit, no amount of LED red light is going to fix your complexion. If you're not drinking enough water, you're going to feel tired. If you're getting under 7 hours sleep, then again, you're not going to perform at your best. It's really boring, and it's the basics. And actually, you could argue that, yeah, but I know that and I can do that by myself. But actually, you probably do need help with it. You probably do need someone to keep you accountable. You probably do need someone to be like, this is amazing. Look at how much more you're moving. Look at how amazing you're doing. And also someone to reflect on the progress you're making. Every other area of our lives, we have some sort of recognition or milestone for our efforts, don't we? So, whether it's a career, it could be a promotion or a pay rise or a recognition at work. And with your career, you're constantly doing CPD as well, aren't you? You're constantly looking to improve and get better. When it's parenting, it's things like watching our children grow up into being confident, independent, happy individuals. When it's a relationship, we mark the milestones with anniversaries, and we celebrate each other's effort into the relationship. Is that the right word? But what I'm trying to say is, none of these things we expect to grow and get better without our constant input and nurture. And the same applies to your health and fitness. And sometimes it's really boring, and sometimes it's really hard. But sometimes it's really enjoyable, and sometimes it's really fun. And I just wanted to share a little bit about my thoughts on A, the health and fitness industry, B, why I got into it, and C, how passionate I am about coaching women and getting them to a place where they are free from the confusion and the overwhelm and the fear, and they are in a place of strength and confidence and clarity. And that is what I work with women on to achieve. It's not just about losing weight, or it's not even just about building strength. It's about stepping into the confident person that you should be in your own skin, that reflects your success as a mother, your success as a career woman, your success in life so far. That's the end goal. Thanks for listening to my first podcast. You never know, I might have one person listen to it. But anyway, appreciate you, and I will start to be doing a series of these once a week on various topics that I am passionate about. See you soon.